Well, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the increasingly controversial Exposed the Manosphere channel, where I'll be interviewing people who used to follow the red pill, but I'm trying to see why they gravitated to it. What are the pros and cons? Because I've talked to people who actually have said there were beneficial things about the red pill, and of course, why do they eventually distance themselves from it or become burnout? And this is actually my second interview with Chris Fluhnoy. Am I pronouncing your last name correctly?
Yep, Fluhnoy, just like it's spelled.
Okay, Fluhnoy, yeah. He's a content creator who he commented one of my videos about the age gap relationships, and I checked out his channel and asked he quite enjoyed it. And he asked, and then he offered to be interviewed, so I'm kind of excited to do this. So, how you doing, Chris? Anyway.
Oh, I'm doing fantastic. Beautiful Sunday. Yes, y'all see the sun shining through my window, so I'm feeling good today.
Okay, so I'll just jump straight into the interview. So, yeah, can you tell me about yourself, like where you're from, where you grew up, childhood, and what you do for a living?
All right, so as y'all see, my name is Chris Fluhnoy. That is my actual name. That's not how it's spelled, but it's how it's pronounced. I'm from the west side of Detroit, Michigan, born and raised, you know what I'm saying? Right now I'm in Ann Arbor, Michigan, where I attend the University of Michigan, majoring in exercise science. I'm a junior right now, and shout out to our basketball team. They really been, whooping tail, through the races and all that. So that's a little bit about me, man. You muted.
Okay, yeah. So you're from Detroit. Okay. I'm kind of curious. So you say you're 20 years old, right?
Yes, sir.
When did you start following like Manosphere or Red Pill content?
So red pill content started about towards the end of my senior year of high school, right? So I had a girlfriend all through high school, all 4 years. We were class couple and all that. And then, just regular high school stuff. We broke up towards the end, nothing crazy. But, I hadn't been in the game all through high school. Like all my other friends had been in the game, everybody, dating and mating and doing all that while we in high school. I hadn't done none of that because I was loyal the whole time. So I end up, when we break up, trying to figure out, all right, I got to step my game up because I ain't been in the races for 4 years. So, I don't ask my dad because I'm like, he old, what he know about game, which I regret. I should have did that back in the day. And then my friends, everybody game is different. So I'm not trying to like go out and ask, dudes for game and all this. So as a 20-year-old in 2021, we Google stuff. So I go straight to Google, I go to YouTube, and then I stumble across what's now considered red pill content. And then I started watching it, ate the meat, spat out the bones with the content. And, we can get into that, as we go along.
Mm-hmm. So who did you come across?
So the very first video I ever saw with this quote unquote red pill content was Alpha Male Strategies, very popular, like up there, the really big dog, so very first, I don't even remember what the video was. I don't remember what it was about. I just came across it. I was like, oh, this is a black man, I could tell he from down south, I could, kind of relate to this. I got family from down south and all that. So I was just watching. He was talking about dating, something like that. And I'm watching it. I'm like, okay, I could feel some of this. I could feel some of that. And I kept watching, when his channel was growing and growing and growing, kept watching. And I ended up stumbling across a couple other content creators along the way.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's interesting. So when I followed the group, it was like Drew O'Shea Jackson, then it kind of created a snowball effect. And I did come across Alpha Male Strategies, and I didn't think much of him. I thought he had some good advice. I didn't agree with everything, but most of it was actually pretty, I guess, usable in my term. But yeah, who else did you follow after AMS?
All right, so after AMS, it went to Steph is Cold. If you're familiar with him,
Yes, I know him.
Yeah, Steph is Cold. He's like 2 or 3 years older than me. At the time he was talking about dating, fitness, finances, self-improvement, which was really what I was drawn to at the time, because that's how I live my life. So I was listening to all this content, watching his videos and stuff, and once again, another black man, pretty much my age. So I was like, all right, I want to support this dude. So I'm gonna watch his content, take what I can from it, and I'm gonna learn from it. And then from Steph is Cold, I started watching C Boogie, who is one of the few who I still watch and I truly support to this day, because, we'll get into that later on. But, then it was C Boogie. Then it was Ron Wheels, who isn't even really red pill, but, he does his dating and mating talk. And that's where it really stopped when it came to the men who I consistently watched, on a regular basis. Stumbled across other guys, when the suggestions and recommendations and all that. But it was really just them who, at the time, I watched on a consistent basis.
Okay, so it does lead me to another question. So in July 2020, you uploaded a video and said that you started to get fatigued by hardcore red pill content. So what is hardcore red pill content and what happened?
So the hardcore red pill content, in my words, is the content that is not based in reality. It's based purely in this idea that women, excuse me, women are these evil, deceitful creatures who will find any way possible to lie, cheat, and steal to get what they want from you. You know, they'll date you, but they always messing with the dude behind the scenes. They'll be your girlfriend, but whenever she see the first dude that look better than you or got more money than you, they gonna go right across the street to that dude. You know, in all them layers that go beneath it. You know, you're well versed in this content, so you know what I'm talking about. Yeah, that's the extreme content to me that is not based in reality. It's the all women do this, all women are like that. You can always expect her to do this, so you don't ever need to do that. You know, the content like that. And I wasn't watching that kind of content at the time. I actually barely really ever watched that content because the whole time I knew that wasn't reality, but I had came across the content and I would always see it on my recommendations, or guys will be in my comments asking, well, what do you think about this dude? Or what do you think about what he said and what he said and what he said? And it almost got exhausting because it's like, you keep asking me these questions about this stuff that's not real. This is fantasy world. This is red pill fantasy land conversation. I don't deal in that realm. I've never been in that universe. I listened to the information, but that's when I really started noticing how much it was plaguing the minds of guys my age or younger, you know, who were in high school, or even the guys that's older than me, who I would think are mature enough to be able to avoid this kind of trap. But that's when I realized just how it was really messing with a lot of guys' minds.
Okay. So, I mean, who were some of those content creators? Because for me, a lot of that was like Darius MGTOW, Donovan Shark, Coach Greg Adams. Those are like those very hardcore red pillars. It kind of spew the stuff that you were kind of referring to, but I don't know who you were listening to.
You just named three of them. You know,
Okay.
like I said, I didn't really watch the content, so I'm not familiar with all the names, but they're, you know, three big ones who I do recognize. All, you know, three black men, so I remember them. But they were three examples of the hardcore content, the really hard, you know, trigger word content, alpha male, Chad and Tyrone, Pookie and Ray Ray, educated lame, you know, using all the trigger words to really tap into the emotions and insecurities of the audience. You feel what I'm saying? That's what that really is to me. And that's what they would do to garner such a big audience of frustrated dudes, which I couldn't resonate with the audience. So it's like, it's kind of like being in a concert with an artist playing music that you don't even vibe with, and everybody around you is enjoying the music, but you just sitting there like, you know, like, I mean, this is cool, I guess, but this is not my space to be. And that's exactly how it was for me. And that's when I know this stuff was going wrong.
Okay. So is that what motivated you to create a YouTube channel about self improvement?
Yes. The first time I ever thought about making a channel was actually because some of my friends were suggesting that I should make a channel. You know, this was like early February of like pretty much like exactly a year ago, almost, you know, a little bit over a year ago. Saying, hey, bro, you should make a channel, make a channel. I'm like, on what? Like, I don't like, what am I making a channel on? It was like, hey man, you know a lot about fitness, you know a lot about self-improvement, and you know, living a life that's conducive to productivity and advancement. You know, your social skills, you got really good social skills. I see you out talking to women all the time. They seem to like you. I'll be hearing about you. I'm like, okay, you know, so I thought about it. I was like, okay, so I sat with it and I was like, okay, I'm gonna try this out. You know what I'm saying? It ain't nothing it's not gonna hurt me to start and try it out. So I came up with a list of like 100 topics that I could talk about right off the bat. And a young woman I was dating at the time suggested the same thing to me while we were hanging out one time, unprovoked, like out of nowhere. We were just having a discussion, you know, just talking out on a date. And she said, have you ever thought about starting a YouTube channel? And I was like, wow, like some of my friends just said the same thing to me like a week or two ago. And now you saying the same thing. So then I was like, okay, I got a woman saying make a channel. I got my friend saying make a channel. I wouldn't mind starting a channel. So I was like, why not? Let's just see how I could rocket it in. Like 2 weeks before, the pandemic started, and they said, all right, y'all got to pack your bags and leave campus. So I was like, okay, now I have nothing but time. I don't have in-person class no more. I'm at my mama's house for the time being, switching between my apartment and my mama's house because she only lived like 40 minutes away. I got a lot of time now. Perfect time to start the channel. See what's up.
Okay, now anytime you make a YouTube channel, everything is almost like kind of like oversaturated, or just like you got to distinguish yourself. So I'm kind of curious, how do you distinguish yourself from other self improvement channels?
So for me, it was mainly about the self-improvement in general from a Black man's perspective. I don't see a lot of Black men talking about self-improvement on a surface level. Usually if they are, it's about, oh, buy this course, buy this program, buy this class from me. It's like, bro, I'm just getting on here talking in front of a camera. It's free. You know what I'm saying? And I'm young. I'm 20 years old, so I can really tap into that young crowd, because I know a lot of guys growing up are like me when I was real young. We didn't grow up liking older men, which would be a whole nother video in itself. We didn't grow up liking older Black men for a plethora of reasons. And so I'm not like that anymore, but I know guys are like that who are my age, a little bit older and a little bit younger. So I was like, hey, a lot of them not gonna want to hear that self-improvement talk from, a guy like C Boogie who's in his early 30s, or someone like Ron Wills who's in his 50s. They'd rather hear from somebody like me. So that's when I say, okay, that's gonna be my distinguishing factor. Really reeling in the guys who want to hear from someone who look like them, sound like them, and is their age.
Oh, okay. So I know so you did say something about, like, you didn't like older men. I've have heard C Boogie talk about that numerous times. Do you care to elaborate on that?
So in the Black community, a lot of the older Black men, I mean, he's talked about this at length. And I'm not regurgitating, but it's gonna sound familiar because it's just the facts. A lot of older Black men compete with younger Black men over women. And that's just how it is. And so growing up, when you was a guy like me or my friends, we played sports, we were athletes. The girls our age liked us. The older ladies, they walk up to us, who say, you so handsome, or you look like LL Cool J. Oh, you gonna be a lady kid, saying all of that. And so the older men would see that and recognize who we were, and they would compete with us for it. So they would give us bad advice, or give us no advice, or they would try to just do certain things that would put us in bad situations so that they could get to our women, you know what I'm saying? Or the women who were closer in our age range, but were adults. So like the early 20s, mid 20s women, the older Black men want them, for whatever reason. And so they was trying to weed out all the young cats all over, women.
Huh, that's interesting to say that, because I lived in Columbia, South Carolina for like 3 years. I went to college. I was there for 7 years, but college I was back and forth. And I do remember it was pretty ubiquitous to see like guys in their 30s or 20s to even 30s try to date girls who were literally in high school, which that blew my mind, because I'm like, dude, I'm 29. I don't know anybody that age unless they're family.
Exactly.
Okay. Yeah, I did. Yeah, the first time I saw you actually commented on my age gap relationship. And you said that whenever you talk about it, you'll just have people come in there and just say, like, no, this isn't true. We can easily get younger women. I'm kind of, so did you see that too growing up? Older guys thinking they can do that.
See, I saw them trying it, but I didn't know what they were thinking, because we thought they were just weird. We didn't know we thought they were just weirdos, right? We was like, okay, you old, but you trying to mess with the girls our age or a little bit older. Obviously something is wrong with you, because you won't just mess with the women your age. So we just ignored it. Like, we just lead them over there. Coming to YouTube was when I first heard it being taught as this thought process. Like, oh, when you get older, when you turn 35 or 40, that's when all the 19 and the 20 and the 21-year-olds are going to want you, because you're in your prime. That's when you're making the most money. That's when if you kept up with your body, you in shape, you're going to have your assets and your everything together. And that's when I was like, okay, so people actually think this and are trying to teach it as something that we thought was weird back in the day, something that the girls thought was weird and still think is weird. Because mind you, I'm 20. So I have these conversations with, some of my homegirls now. Now that I see it on YouTube, I'm asking, like, do y'all really like these older men? Like, I ain't ever seen y'all mess with no older dudes. I ain't hear y'all talk about no older dudes. What is the deal with that? Because I'm hearing these guys say, y'all like 35 and 40-year-olds. And they like, ugh. Like when I look at a guy that's over 27, I'm like, that's, and even 27 is pushing it. It's like they not looking for no dudes that old, but it's this fantasy that the Manosphere and Red Pill has put on their audience, because they look at celebrities. They might look at a rich celebrity who is 50 with a 25-year-old wife, but that's a whole different dynamic of relationship. That's not the same with people on who aren't millionaires and billionaires. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's completely different.
Yeah, I always thought that talking point was like for younger guys who are kind of struggling with women. They kind of give them hope for the future. Like, okay,
That's
okay, you're
exactly
doing.
what it is.
Yeah, it's like
That's
you're doing bad
exactly
with
what
him
it is.
now. Don't worry. When you get older, it's going to get better. And I don't know. I'm 29 now. My friends are older. Everybody knows like dating gets harder as you get older. Oh man, that's kind of bizarre. So yeah, this does lead me to another question. So yeah, one thing I like about your channel is how you approach topics with like common sense and rationale. But given your age, how do you kind of overcome like perception that people might dismiss you as just being young and naive and not have enough life experience?
Well, what's funny is that when I first started the channel, that was a fear of mine, because I knew when I came on, I will only talk about things that I know that what I'm talking about. And I'm not gonna get on here and talk about something I don't know what I'm talking about. But like you said, I was thinking older guys would come on here and be, man, you too young. You don't know nothing about dating. You don't know nothing about women. But for whatever reason, that never happened. And I think that's because I only talk about things that I actually know and understand, or that I have experience with and can relay the information from memory, from experience. It's not something I'm just making up, which is why, a lot of my audience is, guys in their 30s or 40s. There's older women on my channel who are in their late 20s or 30s who actually enjoy my content and have been watching for the long haul. And I chalk that up to me just staying in my lane of understanding and not trying to talk about something I don't know what I'm talking about. Because there are things that I am just too young to understand about dating and, stuff like marriage and getting prenups, what they like to talk about, all that kind of stuff. So I stay in my lane, and I think that the older crowd respects that.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, you have made some videos that some I found like just hilarious. Like one of my favorite videos that you kind of talked about Obsidian's obsession with Mumia Obsidian Ali's obsession with height and the nuclear rejection. You care to tell the audience what that is?
Yeah, so according to Obsidian, I'm a paraphrase, the nuclear rejection is something that he says that Black women enjoy giving, nuclear rejections, and it's when you embarrass a man so bad during the rejection, you crush his ego. You talk about him, you call him out his name, you accuse him of being X, Y, and Z. You make a scene about it. You basically tear that man down and you tear away his manhood, all just from a rejection. And that's, according to him, that's what I got a nuclear rejection is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and Obsidian also talks about like height being 5'7", and I'm 5'5", just for people who don't know, and I don't really deal with the height issue. I mean, the last time I got rejected for being short was literally my freshman year of college. Other than that, I have never heard it since then. But yeah, and you do give advice to guys who are short. Actually, that's another thing I like too. Do guys come to you with like just general questions?
Like, just like in terms of like what context?
Like in terms of like just dating overall, like especially
Oh,
things that like the red pill might talk about, like height, having a height issue.
oh, yeah, all the
Mhm.
time. All the time. When, like I always say on my channel, I'm 5'11", right?
Mhm.
My closest friends are short, less than 5'8", except one. I got one real close friend, about 6'2", but my other real close friends, 5'8", 5'7", 5'5", 5'6", and I've been hanging with them, and they've never had problems getting women because of their height. Any problems they have with women is because of who they are, what they doing, stuff we all encounter, not nothing special, because they're short. You understand what I'm saying? So that's why when it comes to the height conversation, we always got to break it down to, who are you? What is your personality like? Excuse me. That's going to be your turnoff with the women. Of course, there's women out there who say, oh, if a man ain't 6 feet, I will never talk to him. And I mean, that they entitled, to that standard, but that's not the majority of women. Majority of women, as long as you taller than them, you cool, but they think that the height is what turns all the women off, and really it's how you feel about your own height, your insecurities about you being 5'5" or 5'6" or 5'7", 5'8", which really ain't even short for real. But it's all about who you are on the inside that's turning them women off from you. It's not the height, bro. Unless you like 5 feet tall, then I mean that might be a much bigger discussion, a whole another conversation. But
Yeah, it makes sense. I always dated women my height or shorter, and I've seen dudes short. I'm 5'5". I've seen dudes shorter than me that, man. I mean, they got women with no problem.
yeah, I got a friend. He's a freshman. He's 5'4", one of the most charismatic dudes I ever met in my life. Walk up to a woman, talk, and pull it right there. Like, he get women. Nope, he probably get more women than me. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. Probably. I have no idea, but 5'4", so proof is in the pudding. Everybody know a guy that know a guy that's short that get women, so it's like everybody got some evidence, some anecdotal evidence one way or another.
Now, so although you are critical of some red pill talking points, I know you don't totally dismiss it. So what are some of the positive teachings you got out of it?
So the self-improvement aspects of it, get your finances straight, take care of your body, treat yourself well, self-educate, build your own knowledge base. That aspect of the red pill, I will never not encourage. Self-improving who you are as a man. Every man needs to be doing that every single day. You feel me? That's the good part that I got out of it. And, some of the things where they tell you about don't be too nice or don't be too soft and agreeable. Because I mean, that is true. The super soft, super agreeable, super nice guys, I mean, they finish last for a reason. It's because a lot of that is disingenuous. A lot of that is just being nice in hopes of getting something in return. So, stop being nice. Stop putting everyone else above you. How they say don't put women on a pedestal. I mean, that's true. Put yourself first in these situations. Do things that are going to make you happy. Don't do things at the expense of your sanity or your happiness that you don't have to be doing. So those are some of the things that I do encourage and take that are positive from the red pill.
Actually, I know you say you didn't want to talk about this, so I know there's some content creators who you like C Boogie and Ron Wills. You want to talk about them more, like what you like about them?
Yeah, so they live in reality. Nothing is crazy. It's this shouldn't have to go without saying, but they openly like women. Like, if you understand what I'm saying, like for some reason, a lot of guys in this space is like they don't want to let dudes know they like women or they love being around women or they enjoy every now and then just to, harmonize with some feminine energy from a beautiful woman. Like, they make it seem like that's just the biggest sin in the world, which is weird to me. That's very strange to me. So the guys like C Boogie or Ron Wills is regular men talking to other men. We like women. We like talking to women. We like hanging around women. We like chilling with women. And so it's those aspects. You know what I'm saying? That's all it really is living in reality like a normal heterosexual man and not trying to hide the fact that, oh, they date women or they got girlfriends or they did something other than have sex with a woman, like being regular.
I do agree. Sometimes it goes to the extreme where even if you compliment somebody's look, it's like you're called a simp. And you did make a video called Simp versus Gentleman, which I think is an important distinction to make because I think everything is called a simping, and to the point that I can't even define what simping is. And it varies depending who you ask.
Yeah.
I'm kind of curious your take on that because like I say, it confuses me because everything and almost anybody gets called simp.
Yeah, I'm with you on the whole simp thing. That word has no meaning at this point. I don't even regard it as a word when I get called a simp. No one knows what it means anymore. But, the simp versus gentleman thing, being a gentleman is doing things because you're a man, because you're righteous, because of your integrity. So, doing things like holding the door open for a woman that you want to date with, because you want her to go inside the building first and you're going to peek around, see what's going on outside before you walk in the building. You know what I'm saying? Or, walking in front of the curb, so the woman is not, on the curb side towards the street, stuff like that, like regular gentlemanly things that are rooted in protection. You understand? Or just, regular respect, you know, that you would just give any woman who you don't know, who you don't necessarily owe any extra respect to, like if it's your mom or your sister or something like that. You know, just regular stuff like that. Being a simp is when you do things in hopes of getting some sex in return or getting a date in return, doing things hoping that she like you. So, oh, I'm gonna hold this door open because I think it's gonna, you know, get her to like me more. Whereas as a gentleman, it's just like, no, I'm gonna hold this door open because I'm gonna hold this door open. You know, that's what men do because I want to see what's going on. You know, or if we in a real crowded downtown area, or if whatever, what if we in the hood or something? I'm gonna tell her, wait, I'm gonna get out the car first, see what's going on outside, and then I'm gonna open her door for her because I want to make sure that she's safe before she get out the car. You know, that's what a gentleman does. Whereas a simp, you know, is like, I'm gonna open the car door because hopefully that'll give me some extra brownie points. You know, but that's where the distinction is lost. Guys just call anything that you do to a woman or with a woman being a simp, and that's why the word has no significance nowadays.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Like the whole alpha beta male that gets overused to the point that it just becomes meaningless as well.
Yeah, trigger words. That's all it is. Trigger words for that
Mhm.
algorithm.
Yes, yes, yes. So I'm kind of curious. I was watching one of your videos, and you said that some of the red pill just exists to bash women and discuss female nature. Now I know some critics would disagree because they come on my channel and disagree with me. Do you care to elaborate on that?
Yeah. So as you and me both probably understand well that a lot of guys come on here just to vent. They just come on here to vent about their problems with women, you know, and there's no shame in having problems with women. Every man who dates women has problems with women. That's not the problem. It's coming on here venting, but disguising your venting as some kind of teaching or education or spreading awareness. You know, you get cheated on by the girl you liked, or older guy. You know, he dates a woman and he took her on a $200 date and she ghosted him after that. And then they come on here and say, you know, all women, all they want to do is get your money. You know, they're gonna ask you to go out on dates with you. You know, they probably gonna flake the first date, but if they do go on the first date, all they're gonna do is get your money, you know, get you to pay for the food, and then they're gonna ghost you. That's why you have to go for sex on the first date. And if you don't get the sex on the first date, you lost, cut her loose, and charge her to the gang. You know, stuff like that. Or the whole thing about you know, the Pookie and Ray Ray thing. You know, you could tell a lot of these guys saw the girls that they liked, reject them, and then go across the hallway in high school to the doughboy, you know, or the guy who was the athlete, or the guy who, you know, came off like a thug. And they said, man, why do all these chicks want thugs? And then they come on here and say, all women just like Pookie and Ray Ray, you know, especially black women. You know, if he not a thug or a gangbanger, or if he not, you know, slanging white on the corner, sagging his pants, a black woman's not gonna like you. You know, so if you're educated and you have a good paying job and a house, you might as well go to some other race of woman, because black women ain't gonna like you. You know, it's all this kind of goofy talk that's just ridiculous, you know, and the rabbit hole is so deep, and it hurts a lot of guys' minds, especially guys my age, where a lot of guys are very malleable at this age, their minds. So when they hear this stuff, they're saying, oh yeah, I seen that happen before. I seen that in a movie, or I seen a meme like that on Instagram. You know, when she posted a meme and said she want a man to give her flowers, that was her female nature, you know, because she wants a dude to give her flowers, but she not gonna have sex with the dude to give her flowers. She gonna have sex with the dude that's, talking down on her and mollywopping her upside the head. It's like all this kind of silly conversations that dudes just want to get on here and bash women and let their frustrations out. It's like, bro, get you some friends, have you some homies, complain to them, bro. Vent to your homeboys. Don't come on YouTube and cry and complain and try to tell dude, oh, you spreading awareness. That's just false.
Oh no, I totally agree because whenever you learn about some of the backgrounds of these guys, it's pretty typical. Like I know Donovan Sharp is one. Like he has story after story of like getting cheated on by women he dated who are strippers in Las Vegas. Ironically, a lot of them are white, but he kind of like bashes. He kind of still see white women as like superior to black women, even though the women who did him the dirtiest were like all white women.
That's the other thing I noticed that I didn't know was a thing till I got to YouTube, was the worship of white women from black men, which I've been talking about a lot more in my content as of like the past, month and a half or 2 months, because growing up for us, white women were just like a dude would go to a white chick for a jump off. Like if a dude was in a drought and he just wanted a quick hit real quick, He go to the white girl because he knew she would be down for the get down. It was never about, oh, white women are better, date white women, have kids with white women, have families with white women. I ain't never grew up around dudes who move like that. I grew up around dudes who we liked black women. My own father loves black women. All the men who hang around with my father, who I'll be around them and hear their conversations, they talk about how much they like black women. So when I came to YouTube and I'm hearing SYSBM and, black women, they're all single mothers and they can't do anything for you anyway, because if you're 55 and childless with no girlfriend or anything, you're in the green. And so you should just skip the black women and go to the white women because they're better. And like, I didn't know this was a thing till I got to YouTube. You know what I'm saying? So now I got to talk about that in my content because I can't just let that ride. That's disrespectful to me. Just putting down your own women as a black man.
Oh no, I totally agree. So I said this plenty of times. I grew up in predominantly Puerto Rican community, with the second largest group being Dominicans, whites, and African Americans. So I can't put any race or ethnicity on a pedestal because I've seen positive and negatives among all groups of people. But a lot of these guys, it's kind of funny because you're from Detroit, Michigan, so your background isn't like radically different from many of these guys in the space. So I'm kind of confused. Why do you think you have such a different outlook on life compared to them?
So here's my thing, right? Obviously, I don't know any of these guys personally. Anything I say about these guys, unless they've said it or it's proof on video or anything, everything I say is allegations, me speculating from the way they talk and what they say. So what I think is that a lot of these guys were just guys who didn't grow up outside. In the generation before mine, dudes was outside roaming the streets, listening to music, chopping it up with their homies on the stoop and all that. Even in my generation, I mean, we ain't play games or nothing outside for real. Like the previous generations did, but we still have friends who we hung out with. We still walked with our friends to the corner stores. We would walk to our friends to the corner stores and then see a group of girls who we thought was cute and walk up and talk to them. You know what I'm saying? Get rejected or not. That's what we did. In school, we will always talk to the girls. That's what we did. Get rejected or not. That's what we did. It was fun. We were boys. I sense that a lot of these guys to them, but they might have gotten nuclear rejected, like Obsidian said, or they didn't have friends in the neighborhood where they could kick you with and talk about sports and talk about life, about music and all them kind of things. They just stayed in the house and did they thing by themselves, or they had one or two other friends who stayed in the house with them, and they just, stayed in the daytime with the shades down in the dark, playing video games all day, stuff like that. And maybe relationships with their parents. I have no other option but to think that these guys couldn't have had good relationships with their mothers because of how much they don't like women, especially don't like black women. Me, I had a very good relationship with both of my parents. Even though they divorced when I was 5, they've still both been in my life and an integral part of my life since I was born. I'm 20 years old and they still are. I mean, me and my dad just went roller skating and hung out all day last Friday. You know what I'm saying? So I'm really close with my dad, really close with my mom, so I think that plays a factor in it as well. I feel like a lot of these guys didn't have those kind of healthy relationships with their parents, which is not their fault. Obviously, that's their parents' fault, but they carry that on into adulthood and it affects the way that they look at women and it affects the way they look at life.
Yeah, there's a link between they say misogyny and a boy's relationship with their mother. I mean, that's something social scientists have known. Now, I'm also curious because even though you do have a similar background, a lot of them also tend to view black culture as inherently dysfunctional. So rather than looking economic and social factor, they just think black people are just inherently just pathological. And I don't know that you have that same view, even though they come from a city that has a decline in population over the last 20 years.
I mean, are we dysfunctional? Yeah, but every race is dysfunctional in their own way. So, I know what you mean. They think that, oh, only black people have a lot of single mothers, or only black women are the ones who go on welfare, or only black men are the ones who, hurt each other in the streets or, talk down on one another. That's not true. Every race of women has single mothers on welfare. Every race of men has dudes who hurt each other and, take each other's lives, you know, in the streets, or, you know, in the office buildings or in the school buildings, things like that. It's just in different ways, you know. We ain't got to get in all that, but I mean, is it dysfunctional? Yeah, but people are dysfunctional. So I don't think Black people are any more dysfunctional than other people. I just think we have our own dysfunctions that we have to iron out ourselves. You know what I'm saying? Because our dysfunction comes from different roots than other people's dysfunction. You know, we got our own experience that we need to tend to and that we need to repair.
Yeah, I would agree. I would say there are certain things unique, and there's certain things that are kind of isomorphic among other cultures. I see the same thing among Puerto Ricans that currently live in Southern Indiana. There's a lot of poor whites here. Many of the issues that we associated with urban areas in the 80s, in the 70s, 80s, and 90s now exist in rural areas among like poor white people. So, like again, I always saw this more as like a class thing, not necessarily a strictly racial thing.
Right. And I think another thing with that is when you've been accepted by the culture versus when you've been rejected by it. You know, so they say I don't know how it goes exactly, but they say, oh, the boy who wasn't accepted by the village is gonna grow older to burn it down or whatever it is like that. A lot of these guys have that same thought process. You know, growing up, they might not have been, the popular kids or had a lot of friends or been cool with a lot of the ladies growing up. And so as they've gotten older, they want to detach themselves from the Black community, so that's why a lot of them say, oh, us educated lame brothers, we don't get the Black women because we're not the thugs like all the other Black men. We're better. We do cryptocurrency and we trade stocks and, we do all of this and we have houses and we exercise and have transportation like regular people stuff, but they try to elevate themselves. I have a college degree, so I'm better. And they try to elevate themselves because they try to detach because I feel like they haven't been accepted by the culture. And so instead of trying to understand why, they just say, F the culture. I'm about to detach myself. I'm gonna roll over here with these white boys. I want to be them instead.
Oh no, you see that especially exists in SYSBM, where you have people who even move to like predominantly white suburbs or city just to get away from like Black people. That's bizarre to me because when I lived in Lincoln, Nebraska, a city that's 86% white, I ensured I lived in like the most diverse community because it kind of was similar to where I grew up at. And it was the community I lived in. Everybody was telling me stay away from it. And this is Lincoln, Nebraska. Trust me, it's not that bad.
Yeah.
So yeah, just leave it. So I do want you. So I know you made videos about incels and Black pillars. So did you have any past encounters with them?
Yeah. So when I first was like in the first few months of my channel, I would say I started my channel last March. So around like May, June, July, like summertime, I had one incel who would comment on every video I did. And he would comment he would do like 6 comments per video. So, it was good for the algorithm, but it was irritating because I'm like, what is he talking about? And it would take all the energy from my subscribers, and they would be countless threads of them commenting under his comments with 46 replies just because he said, I'm too ugly, it's over, blah 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 blah, paragraphs upon paragraphs. And so then he was like popular on my channel, like he was part of the channel, and I made a live stream talking about him, because coincidentally also another dude in my comment section was like, can you talk about why there's a rise of incels? Why do you think that is? And I was like, okay. So we took Darkest Night. That was his YouTube name at the time. I don't know what it is now, but and we made a video and I did a live stream and I talked about why I think there's so many more incels and Black pill guys roaming around. And it goes a lot to about what we talked about previously, not being accepted by the village, the community, not having adequate adults raise you, and parent you and really treat you like their child, not having adequate love and attention from your mom and not having adequate love and attention and those masculine thought processes instilled in you from your father. You know what I'm saying? I think a lot of that goes back to that. I mean, it goes way deeper. I talked about it in the live stream, but I've had my few encounters and I did like 2 or 3 videos about incels, back like in that summertime. And then they started coming to my channel, you're wrong, you don't understand. And I was like, all right, I'm done with this at least for a long while because I don't want this kind of energy all up in my comments.
Mm-hmm. I know, but I think but you did return to it, like when you talk about your recent series to expose and uncover black incel. You know, in the manosphere, they believe that black incels don't exist, which,
Yeah.
oh man. So okay, what made you decide to start that series?
Okay. So this actually goes back to how I really found out a lot about the manosphere. If you're familiar with Taz exclusives, right?
Mhm.
A subscriber of mine DM'd me a video of his. I had never really heard of him. I had seen him in live streams sometimes because he type in all caps. So I had seen him in live streams sometimes. I didn't know who he was. I didn't know he had a channel or anything like that. She sent me a DM to the channel. It was a live stream where he was talking about the manosphere, going in on some guys. That's one thing he do. Very entertaining, very knowledgeable man as well. But I'm watching it and I'm laughing. I'm thinking it's funny, I'm laughing watching it. But then I'm like, wait, these dudes are real. Like this is what the real manosphere is. And that's when I realized I didn't actually know what the manosphere was until I saw him talking about him. I thought the manosphere was just, some of the few guys I was watching. I was with C Boogie and Ron Wills, and I was early on watching AMS and Steph is Cold. I didn't know it was all these other guys who you make videos on. That's when I've been exposed to these kind of guys. And I was like, bro, no questions about it. A lot of these guys are black incels. That's just, I would put money on that. And so I keep watching this content, and I'm going to their channels and I'm watching the content, to get acquainted with what's going on. And I'm like, oh yeah, these are black incels. So then I just started a little series where it was like, okay, these are some things that you can use to recognize a black incel, which is, either a black man who's been deprived of attention from black women or just a black man who's been deprived of attention from women in general. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, okay. So it's interesting. You actually didn't really know much about the entire manosphere. You was more like into like the bigger content creators who were like dating coaches.
Yes. And that's when I knew I really didn't fit in the manosphere. Like, I really don't like these dudes. These are like, when I started watching Taz exclusives content on the manosphere guys and going to their channels, like, I had never really watched O'Shea Duke Jackson. And I had heard of him, never watched them before. Some other guys, some smaller guys who are key to the manosphere. I'm like, oh, so this is the manosphere. Now I see why I didn't fit in, because when I'm looking at them, I'm like, okay, obviously, like I said, I don't know these guys personally. These are all just speculations, but these seem like the guys who, growing up, we would see them in groups or we would see them by themselves and say, hey, bro, keep your distance from him. He kind of weird. Or, be nice to him because he kind of weird. That's the feeling I got listening to their kind of content. And so that's when I was like, okay, I'm now not on the fence about, oh, I'll just leave the manosphere alone. It was like, no, I now am against the manosphere because I can understand these guys somewhat to a certain extent, so that's when I really, then I got introduced to your content, started watching it. I'm like, okay, all right. So yeah, I really, really, really don't fit in with these dudes no more. So yeah.
Yeah, so there are people like C Boogie, like he alludes to it, but he doesn't really lead his audience to follow that content. But sometimes he does respond to it. So have those manosphere guys ever commented on your channel? I saw one video where you said people just accuse you of being raised by a single mom, and one thing in the manosphere that's criticized, like people project a lot. Well, I get told that I'm like, I was raised mostly by my dad, but people just be like, oh, you're probably raised by a single mom. I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah. So actually, and not necessarily manosphere, but an SYSBM dude. I came across one of his videos it was suggested to me. I don't know why, but it was suggested to me. And it was something about some news article about a black woman attacking a black man who had a white girlfriend or something like that. I watched the video. I'm like, oh, this is one of them black incels. Goofy, can barely speak, is his speech and his tonality is all off. His stance on black women was very toxic. He views them as his equal biologically. Like he was saying, oh, he got smoke for black women, and he checked some black women in the store for looking at him. So I made a video talking about his video. Didn't have his name in it, nothing, because I didn't want people going over there harassing him or nothing like that. I just wanted to talk about the video. But then one of his people came to my channel and said, "Hey, he just roasted you." He said his name. His name was Clever Chief. He said, "Clever Chief just made a video about you and roasted you." I'm like, "Who is Clever Chief?" And he was like, "The guy you made the video about." I was like, "Oh, okay." So I ignored it for like a day. And I was like, let's see what this dude talking about. So I went to the channel, and the title of his video was "Dating Coach / LGBTQ Gang Member is Triggered Over My Video," right? So I didn't even watch the video. I didn't watch the video, but I sent the link to some of my YouTube, who guys I do content with on YouTube every now and then. I sent it to them. I was like, "Hey, look at this, bro. Look at this funny title." And one of them reviewed the video on their channel, right? With my permission, of course. And that's when I started seeing parts of the video. So I'm like, "Oh, this dude don't know what he taught." He said, "I was raised by a single mother. I worship Black women. I rock a baldy," but he kept saying I had blonde hair, and he was saying, "Oh, if he saw me on his street, he would beat me up and clean the streets," and saying all this like, "Oh, you from Detroit, but I know you can't walk around your neighborhood." So I'm like, "Okay, all right, I'm gonna just review the video just for fun. This could be some funny content." Did a live stream on it, and that was like my one encounter with a guy who gave me some opposition. And I think he's made another video about me. I think maybe I've been told that, haven't looked, but I mean, it'll probably happen more in the future now that I'm on your channel. And I'm gonna start making some more distinctive content about the Manosphere and what's going wrong with it. So it's bound to happen some more.
Yeah, okay. I will say beef is part of YouTube, man. I don't do response videos. If I do, I'll just wait and then I'll just like put them. I'll put like them in a compilation video and just kind of respond in that kind of way. But I don't like doing direct response videos. So yeah, I do. So two people had a question in the chat. I can't pull it up because I accidentally kept this StreamYard private. So I have like two screens open right now. So somebody's like, what are your opinions about Rollo Tomasi? That's somebody from the white sector of the Manosphere. I don't know if you watch those guys.
That's Rational Male, right?
Yes.
So I don't know Rollo. I didn't even know he had a YouTube channel, but I do know he wrote that book. I listened to the book like real back when I think AMS or Steffes Cole was like, "Listen to this book, with some keys here." Listen to the book on Audible, shout out Audible, shout out Amazon, sponsor me. It's like, no, I'm just playing, but listen to the book. It was cool. It was some stuff in there where he was saying things that I already knew, but just had never really thought about, never really had thought about it in words, so, the book Rational Male, I mean, that's a cool book if you live in reality enough to be able to take the information and, like I said earlier, eat the meat and spit out the bones, which a lot of guys seem not to be able to handle. But I don't really know nothing about Rollo Tomasi beyond that book. I don't even know what he looked like. I didn't know he had a channel. Don't know what he sounded like. So I can't say nothing about Rollo Tomasi.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, he's pretty much like the godfather of the red pill. That's how they described him. I haven't read his book yet. But somebody told me it's good for the short term, but it's not good for the long term, really.
Yeah. I would say that too,
Mm-hmm. And there's another person in the chat. They asked, "What are your views on marriage?" The Manosphere kind of debates that whether it's beneficial or they think every woman's out to like rob you if you get married.
Definitely heard that. So I think marriage is a beautiful thing, if it's right, if it's healthy, if it's genuine, if it's righteous, if there is integrity behind the marriage. I don't see why I would be against marriage, Now, like I said, I'm 20 years old, so I don't know the ins and outs of marriage. I haven't been divorced, so I don't have to pay nobody for no child support or nothing like that. So I don't know that much about marriage, but I've seen marriage and with my own eyes be very prosperous and be fruitful. So I plan on getting married, having a family, because I want little mini me's. I want children that look like me running around the house and growing up and, going to school and being successful. So I'm gonna get married to a woman who is a good woman and, serves what I look for in a woman, and I serve what she looks for in a man. And we gonna, have a prosperous family together. You know what I'm saying? Now, of course, I mean, all marriages don't end well. They're not all meant to, stuff happens. Like I said, my parents divorced when I was 5, but it wasn't no ugly situation. It wasn't nothing terrible that I had to grow up in. Oh, I had to see my mom getting beat up by my dad because she was divorced. I didn't have to see all that. It was like, nah, my when my dad does bring up my mama, it's nothing but good, positive things. My mama, she don't really, talk about my dad too much. But sometimes women be spiteful. You just like your daddy. Stuff like that. But they don't talk negatively about each other, nothing like that. So I'm pro marriage. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm pro community, and I think marriage is integral to community. Or not necessarily marriage itself, but family is integral to community growth. So I'm pro marriage on that too.
I'm actually glad you brought that up. I realized, like in the manosphere, a lot of guys come from dysfunctional backgrounds, and they kind of think everybody has that same background. I'm just like, no. When I lived with my mom for like 5 years, but my mom never put my father on child support because she believed he couldn't afford it. So yeah, she wasn't vindictive at all. But no, neither my parents. They didn't really talk about. I mean, they didn't get along, but they weren't like hostile towards one another when I was living with them. So
Exactly. Yeah.
yeah, somebody else in the chat asked, do you know who Cynthia G is, and what do you think about her content?
I do know of Cynthia G. So I watch her content from time to time now, because I first really heard about her through Taz exclusives when I started watching him, because they're like close via YouTube, but I first heard about her when she did an interview with C Boogie, like back in October or November, sometime back then. And I was listening and, not knowing who she was, not really knowing her background, as a black man, initially, I wanted to shut the information out and be like, nah, she just tripping, or, maybe she just encountering all the wrong guys. But when I listened to her content more and more, and I realized that it's not about tearing down black men, but about calling out the black men who are destructive to the community. A lot of her content I have to agree with. You know what I'm saying? I know I'm probably about to get shot with spears from some of these men who, watch this video, but I'm gonna just be honest, bro. I agree with some of her content about, a lot of black men do not have a building focused mentality. A lot of black men, like we talked about earlier, I'm familiar with, growing up, a lot of black men was competing with us over women, so I agree with her. A lot of black men are not building. A lot of black men do worship white women. A lot of black men do want to be white men. A lot of black men are not happy with the skin they in. They wish they could scrub off some of that melanin and throw it down the drain and be white. What's some other stuff she be talking? Some stuff I disagree with, but a lot of the stuff, when I think about it objectively, and I take myself away from my inner circle. I don't think about guys like my own dad or the other men I grew up around. When I think about the whole environment that I've been around, I see her content in real life. So I can't reject it. You know what I'm saying? I can't.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a lot of people are saying they're coming for you.
Oh yeah, I know. I already know. I already know. I already know.
Yeah, I don't really listen to her a lot. I mean, like I said, there's a lot of things I don't agree with her, but that just might be my different background coming from. Because actually, when I came across Black YouTube, I'm just like, holy crap, I can not relate to what a lot of people are talking about. And I'm like, I lived in predominantly black settings for like about 5 years of my life total. So I guess I just I probably didn't know as much as I thought I did before I came across this space. So yeah, I have a last question, like closing words, but I do want to tell everybody. So please subscribe to Chris' channel. I pinned his channel in the comment in the live chat. So it's pinned in the live chat as well as pinned in the headline. If you click it, you'll actually just be traffic right to his channel. So yeah, I want to say, yeah, you have any last words for the audience?
Yeah. So for any men listening, about women and all that, man, a lot of times the simplest answer is the answer. There's no confusion around the truth. I just posted on my community tab earlier. You can be a character, or you can have character. Just be a man, have some integrity, have some codes and morals to yourself. Stop trying to follow what these other men say blindly. If you want to go out here with a dude, say an experiment, do what you got to do. I mean, that's how we figure out if stuff work, right? But don't take what these guys say as gospel, when I know a lot of y'all are not really living what they trying to tell y'all. You know what I'm saying? A lot of guys, don't go on dates with women, just have sex with them, or, don't do this and don't do that. And a lot of guys encourage it, but they don't really live like that. And so that's where a lot of guys get angry, because you got one side of your brain trying to be this, but you really this on the other side. So it's like, stop trying to be somebody you not. Stop trying to follow and live vicariously through another man you watch on YouTube. Live your life, bro. Just live your life. And to any women listening, you know, just don't take what they say seriously. I know it's hard because they got loud voices. Like they say that the minority usually got the loudest voice in the room. Their voice is going to be loud, you know? So when they saying a lot of BS, a lot of stuff that we all know is just dumb and it's not rooted in reality, try to ignore it, man. Like, I know it's hard, but try to just ignore what they be saying, because it's really just a bunch of fairy tale conversations, you know? And that'll be my closing remark, you know?
Okay, I sincerely appreciate that. I think you have seem like a pretty bright guy. I think you have a really bright future ahead. And I say that because I work with undergrads all the time, and I'm just like, yeah, that person there is really bright.
Appreciate that.
Yeah, I sincerely mean that, having been around students for 7 years. So to everybody, so I'm glad you enjoyed this. I'll have another interview Thursday. I might make a video this week. It depends if I can get it done fast enough, a pre-recorded video. And then hopefully have another interview done, scheduled for Sunday. But next one will be Thursday, actually, with another subscriber of mine's. So I personally don't have any last words, but I think this was actually a very insightful conversation. And once again, I hope you guys subscribe to Chris' channel, because he has really great content there.
Appreciate that.
Okay, but other than that, I'll just say have a good afternoon, everybody, and see you later.
Enjoy your Sunday.
Mm-hmm.